There are so many AI tools out there, but in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 7 AI tools that have actually helped me skyrocket my productivity. And these tools have helped me in so many ways, from business to coding to research. And there are things that I can do now that I couldn't do a year ago without these tools. So stick around because I think you're going to find that some of these tools are extremely useful and they will aid you in your productivity. The first tool that I use multiple times per day is called Perplexity. And Perplexity is amazing because it brings all of the best of all of these different LLMs that you can choose from, and it puts them in one solid interface. So here we have the chat box that we're used to. I can click into here and I can start typing anything. But the neat thing is, if you click on focus right here, you'll see that it has a bunch of different focuses that you can choose from for whatever it is that you're prompting. So if you wanted to, you could search the web more efficiently, or you could search for more scholarly, respected papers and things like that. If you have something that you're researching that has higher consequences or it's a little higher stakes, and it will actually cite those sources for you. It also has a math mode, a writing mode if you're just trying to do regular writing without using the web, and you can have it even watch videos for you and research like YouTube videos and things like that. And then here it has social, which will search for things like Reddit or public forums or different places online when it does its searching. But here, when I select web, which is the default, I can just search for anything and it's actually going to go out and do the research on my behalf. So one thing that I've started to realize is this is changing the game for search. We used to search based on keywords, based on whatever we thought that the business or the provider of that content would put in their content, right? But now it's about asking questions and having intelligent search, right? So we can actually ask one question and then it will know all the rest of the questions to ask. It will actually delegate that research for us. I'm just going to go ahead and ask it, what is the market sentiment today for commodities? Like I said, I'm not the best speller. I leave words out, I leave letters out, but overall it does a pretty good job at figuring out what I'm after, and it'll fix it when it's actually doing its search for me. And it's actually doing all of these searches. So it's doing more searching and more due diligence than you would have been able to do before, because it's just doing it so much faster. And it's actually aggregating all of these sources here, and then it pulls information out. Like here we have information on oil prices facing downward pressure due to weak demand outlook. And if you hover here, you can see exactly where that came from. This one came from Reuters. So I could click on this and see the article that it came from. Gold is showing some strength. This one came from the India Times. Wheat prices are going up. Sugar prices are seeing a pause in Brazil. So it's doing all of this amazing research on our behalf. And then we can even ask follow-up questions. And the neat thing here is you can actually see that Claude 3.5 Sonnet was the model that it used. Now, this is just one of those reasons that I love Perplexity so much. Perplexity allows you to use any model here, and you pretty much use it without cap. Well, I'm not saying that there's not a cap. I just haven't ever reached it. With a lot of these LLMs that I'm using these days, I run into caps where it says you can't prompt again for another X amount of hours. But with Perplexity, I've never gotten shut down. So the cool thing is you don't have to pay for all these other subscriptions. You can just use Perplexity, especially if you're a light user and you don't like the interfaces on the other platforms. Perplexity will work just fine for you. For instance, if I wanted to use Perplexity for coding, then I would actually change my focus to web. I would probably still keep it on web. I wouldn't change it to writing because I want to actually do some research on the web. So I'm just going to say, research some features that would make Tetris more fun, then code a better version using Python. Now, here's this prompt that I've created. Research some features that you can make Tetris more fun with. And this is something that you can't really do if you're just talking to Claude straight up, if you're talking to ChatGPT straight up, even though it will use web search sometimes, because Perplexity will understand that this means we need to actually create some web queries. We need to make some web searches. And it's going to do that before it does anything else so that it actually has that information to move forward with. Whereas some of the other tools out there are not going to understand what you mean by research, because it's probably not hard coded into whatever the layers that they have between the model are here in Perplexity. And that's where the real magic happens. So I'm going to go ahead and send this off and see what we get. So it's showing us what it searched. It's researching the features that would improve the fun factor of Tetris. And now it's coding a better version of Tetris. And right here, we have all the code for that. So let's go ahead and see once it loads how this works. I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. So I'll just call this tetris.py and I'll paste that code. Sometimes you're going to have to install Pygame. I probably already have it installed, but if you do pip install Pygame, there we go. Requirement already satisfied. Now let's go ahead and let's hit run. All right, it looks like it worked. I don't know if it did anything different here or added any features, but this code is pretty solid and I can tell it knows what Tetris is, how it works. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we get a full row here. Here we go. We should get a row here. And yeah, it's a working version of Tetris. I'm not sure what it added, but now we could talk back and forth, iterate on this, and improve my code. And this is something that I could do with web development too, or product development. You don't have to just do this with games, but this is just a quick example to showcase how powerful this really is. All right, so let's see what happens when I lose a game, or let's see if it will make me lose the game if I reach the top here. Yep. Looks good. So I don't know if there's anything unusual about that, but it was a pretty solid implementation of Tetris. Now, if you thought that that implementation of Tetris was cool, then you're going to think this next tool is amazing because this tool helps you code even faster using AI, and that tool is Cursor. There hasn't been a copilot quite like Cursor, and Cursor brings all of the power of LLMs to your coding interface. And it's actually forked off of and built off of the Visual Studio Code that most of us are familiar with if you've ever done any sort of coding. But if you haven't done any coding, don't worry, Cursor is actually super easy to learn and most of it's just prompting. They even have a free version so you can try it out and just get started and figure out if it's something that works for you. I'm just going to open up Cursor for myself. And here I have Tetris within Cursor. And if I hit Command I now get this text bar right here that is interacting with tetris.py. So if I tell it, turn the shapes into sand when they hit and add physics and change the rule so that a certain color of sand has to match up across the entire thing from wall to get a row deleted. It no longer should delete the row if it's just filled. Make the sand move dynamically when it lands. So I've seen this version of Tetris and it actually basically turns the shapes into sand when they land. So they call it Sandtris, I guess. There's a lot of different iterations of it. Let's go ahead and see if Cursor can actually do this. So it's basically just going to figure out what it needs to do, figure out how it needs to implement it. And now it's actually interacting with this file right here and generating new code to implement. And by the way, as you can see here, it's using Claude 3.5 Sonnet. You can also swap out your model and try something different if you don't want to use Claude for your coding, but this is the best one that I've found. So if I hit accept all, now it's actually implemented that right into this tetris.py. So if I hit play now, if I run the code, let's go ahead and see if it works. Okay, that did seem to have some physics to it. And it's not letting me turn things anymore. Let's see if this, yeah, that kind of has some physics to it. It's not quite what I was thinking. Oh, but it actually is kind of squishing down like sand. It's just on the cube level. So let's see. Okay, that fills it in. Let's see if it actually fills it if I get a full color across. Let's see if I can get this yellow all the way across. Or honestly, the red. Let's just go for the red. Oh, it didn't connect. Okay, it mixed. I see. See what this does. Okay, so this yellow is still connecting. All right, plan B, we're going for blue. So that's almost there. That should work right about now. Okay, so that didn't seem to work. Maybe it needs to be within the same row that there's all one color. Well, that's the beauty of Cursor. Let's just say fix this and make it turn into actual sand particles and have them slide and fall, and they don't have to be connected in the same row. They can be connected from wall to wall as long as the sand particles are touching. So I've instructed it to fix this and basically turn it more into like a sand particle instead of just keeping that same cell form. And I also instructed it that they just need to connect from wall to wall with the particles touching. They don't need to be in the same cell row. So it's actually doing the coding here for me. It's changing some things out for me. I'm just going to hit accept all, save all, and I'm going to hit run code. And it's snowing. All right, I made a small improvement in the prompt. Let's see if this works. Okay, still not sand particles, but let's see if they at least work when they connect. Okay, so all the colors are still wildcards. It still works with every color, it looks like. Yeah. All right, and it looks like I finally got a working implementation of this. It took a little while. It took a minute to prompt, and it took some patience. But now we have a working version of this game, and it's only been about 15 minutes of prompting and testing this out to get this to work. And now it's working exactly as intended. It's even keeping score for me. And I could continue going on with this project. I could make it public online. I could deploy it, and you could really just keep going with Cursor. And that's why I really like this tool, because it takes time to create some of these projects. Like I've tried to create this same project before just using Claude and copy and pasting. But when it doesn't have a consistent idea of the code base and you can't copy and paste the errors a couple times and continue testing with it, you're not going to get nearly as good of results, and it's not going to know what you're talking about a lot of the time. And just keep in mind, I know very, very little about coding. I mean, I've just recently started learning Python, but other than that, I know very little. Let's see what happens when I lose this game here. All right, it worked. So yeah, as I said, I had a bit of a conversation with it. A few times I just copy and pasted exactly what was showing up in the terminal. And I walked through what I wanted for the sand. And eventually it just took me saying, hey, I want it to be more sand-like. And I didn't have to do any crazy workarounds. It just figured out what I meant by that. The next tool that we're taking a look at, you've already heard a lot about, and that is Claude Sonnet 3.5, or any of the frontier Claude models that Anthropic is releasing. These models are just amazing, and I love the projects feature. The projects feature allows you to create a project with specific knowledge that you can reference in the future. One of the examples that I like to use is an OpenSCAD knowledge library. So basically this is an AI that understands OpenSCAD, which OpenSCAD is basically this library that you can use to do CAD design or 3D design just using code. So this means that I can now do 3D modeling just by prompting. So this is prompting to real world 3D modeling. In fact, here are some real world products that I actually created using this method. So these are for my local town. It's called Marcellus. So it's Marcellus football, right? It's for the local football team. And I've been able to print these in multiple colors on my 3D printer. And I even was able to program in these little slots for magnets. So now these serve as little magnets that can go on people's fridges. And I did all of this just by prompting inside of a Claude project. Now, if you have a ChatGPT subscription, you can do a similar setup like this, but I just prefer Claude because it's better at coding. So I'm just going to basically give this a name. So I'll name the project OpenSCAD Generator. And what are we trying to achieve here? Generate SCAD files with a basic prompt. If I hit create project now, you're going to notice that I have project knowledge over here. And project knowledge is where I'm going to upload all of the examples, all of the code, everything like that. So I've got these two files here on my desktop. One is called response examples and one is called OpenSCAD basics. If I open up OpenSCAD basics, this is actually something that I generated using Perplexity. I asked Perplexity to create a basic guide with coding examples of how to use OpenSCAD. So you can do the same. You can just use Perplexity just like I did, and you can actually have it generate this document for you and give tips and things like that. And then I also created some response examples. So here I just showed user, a basic funnel assistant, and I showed the type of code that it's going to output of a basic funnel example of an OpenSCAD. So let's go ahead and upload these different project knowledge pieces here, and you'll see that it only used up 13% of my knowledge. So I can put in a bunch of other knowledge here in my project, and it's just going to make this tool even more powerful. Now, let's say fire hydrant. And as you can see, it knows exactly what to do because I've uploaded all of those awesome examples, and now it's generating an OpenSCAD model of a fire hydrant. I can go ahead and copy the contents, and you can actually download this free platform right here called OpenSCAD. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to open up these different SCAD models. So let's go ahead and render this. Now that I have this in here, it is giving me this warning, unable to parse color brass in file. So if that gives us any issues, we can fix that later. But overall, it did a great job of generating this fire hydrant right here, all generated completely using AI. And now if I wanted to, I could get this STL file right here. You can just export this and basically put it anywhere on your computer. And then that's how you can actually turn it into a 3D print. So if you wanted to 3D print like I did with those magnets, then you could actually do that using a Claude project just like this. You can even give it specific measurements. You can tell it how big you need the holes to be on the back of it, or you can tell it how wide you want this fire hydrant to be. Now, obviously, it's not going to do super complex things like 3D models of lions like this, like I tried to do. This one is just one that I picked up at a yard sale, but it can't do stuff like this because it is just coding shapes essentially. So if you try doing something like this, you might have luck trying to get it close, but I found the simpler stuff and the stuff that's just basic shapes connected together, even if it's complex shapes connected together, just with a very methodical approach, that's what works better with these OpenSCAD files. Fantastic AI tool number 4 is Notion. Now, I use Notion pretty much every single day, and I'm using it right now as I film this video. As you can see here, film 7 fantastic AI tools for productivity in 2024. And I'm actually tracking the script writing. I've tracked that. And right now I'm tracking the filming. The filming is in progress. So right now I'm on Notion and I've already crossed off all of these other tools. This is so meta. I'm using Notion to talk about Notion. Anyways, it's just a super useful tool for collecting all of my different data and then having an AI assistant right within it that can interact with that. So for instance, let's actually open this up. And if I wanted to go into Perplexity here, and let's just unstrike that. And I had a few things that I wanted to talk about with this, right? So let's just go ahead and hit improve writing. It'll actually do inline AI work for me, and it'll actually write all of this out. So if I hit accept, now I have a better way to explain this to people. Aside from having inline AI tools, it also has the ability to create user-friendly databases. And that's where I find the value in Notion. You can create these databases of your tasks, your notes, your goals, and you can bring them from all different sources. Right now, what you're looking at is the Productive Brain, and I'll leave a link to this below if you want to learn more about it. But this is basically where I have all of my different data, my tasks, my notes, goals, areas of my life, sessions, like the things within the tasks or the subtasks. And then you have days where you can actually keep track of different habits. Like here, I can make a habit called workout, and it's automatically going to track workout for September 10th when I create a new day in here. So that's super neat. You can kind of connect up your current goals to your tasks, and it has a great planning, processing, and installation view. The latest version of Productive Brain even has a way that you can import all of your finances in here, and it allows you to categorize your expenses and revenue. The next tool that you're going to want to look at is called Airtable, and this is similar to Notion in a lot of ways, but in some ways, it's less user-friendly, I would say. But if you're more of a developer and you care more about just the back-end data and where it's moving, this is basically like Notion for developers or for low-code, no-code developers, right? You can create these databases like videos and sources for different content that you're scraping. And you can basically just pull it all into here and you can have it interact with AI. So these scripts right here, these are all generated by AI. And I have them all ported into this Airtable. And then from the script and from those prompts that are all AI generated, it's going to create a style. It's going to select out of those style options which one it wants to go with. And then it's going to create images that it can create videos based on. And this is actually going to create viral videos for me. So the way that Airtable is set up is it basically just puts all of your data in one place, and you can query this data and use AI to interact with it. The other nice thing about Airtable is they have this automations section right here, and you can actually add triggers so that if something happens within your database or within another platform, you can have webhooks send and you can start automations, or you can have different things happen within Airtable as well. Airtable has its own AI features as well, like generating, summarizing, and translating text, categorizing data, and powering automated workflows. So if I hit plus right here and I click on AI, as you can see, I can generate text within a column, and let's just say I wanted to summarize, right? So we'll just do summarize, and I'll start from scratch. I'll just say summarize the content in this row, and I can actually reference different pieces of content. So you can do some of your AI automations just right within Airtable. You don't have to do them elsewhere. So let's say we'll summarize the script, and we'll also throw in the video title, and I'll just hit create field. Now, if I hit generate, as you can see, it's going to say generating, and then it's actually going to generate that AI response. So this is pretty neat, and it's a good way that you could actually generate a lot of this text right within Airtable. But what if you want to use tools outside of Airtable and you just want to use Airtable or Notion as your backend database? Well, look no further than Make.com. Make is leading the way in automations, and I used to be a big fan of their competitor Zapier, but Make is just the best one out there. I have nothing else to say. With Make, you can actually create a lot of these automations that are running inside of your Airtable. So in this particular instance, I'm searching through all of the news articles for the past 48 hours, and then I'm handing them over in one bundle to ChatGPT. Within here, I'm prompting ChatGPT to actually arrange those news stories into some titles, some scripts, some basically content ideas, video ideas, right? And then it's parsing that down into a language that Airtable can read again, and it's putting all of that content back in. So the beauty of Make.com is you can actually implement all of these different LLMs. You can implement ChatGPT, you can implement Anthropic, and you can basically create these workflows without doing a lick of code. And you can get super complex with these. These little agent pairs right here that you see are actually analyzing images and selecting a photo. So the image that it's receiving is an image that contains multiple different images within it, if that makes sense. So it's basically like a grid of 4 images. And this is instructed on looking at the image, understanding the context, and then selecting one of those images. From there, this agent right here reads what this one says, it reads its selection, and it synthesizes it into JSON, which is a language that computers understand. It's a way to transmit different data, and JSON is just a structured way for an AI to respond. So it passes those JSON instructions over to an API that interacts with an image generation tool. Since image generation takes time, now we also have these sleeping modules here that allow us to stop the automation for 150 seconds, take a break while the AI is generating whatever it's generating, and then go back and get that image. So with Make, you can automate everything from video creation, like I was just now showing you guys, but you can even move a lot of weight with just basic automations like onboarding automations or finance automations, like onboarding, sales, or customer service. You can even create notifications on Make so that if various things happen across the internet or across your online tools, you can actually have it notify you based on certain criteria. The 7th and one of the most astonishing tools that I want to take a look at next is called Flux.one. This is an open source tool created by Black Forest Labs. And Black Forest Labs is basically comprised of some people that left Midjourney, they're ex-Midjourney employees. And before Flux, I would say Midjourney was the best image generation model, hands down. But with the release of Flux, they've improved on a lot of things that Midjourney just couldn't do that well. Let's go ahead and generate a pixel art village. And by the way, I'm using Grok for this. And you can use whatever you want, but Grok I've found works the best for just accessing Flux. Flux isn't the same thing as Grok by X, but they are partnered up, so you can use Flux through the Grok LLM. Now, what this really shines at is generating real people. It's good at generating real convincing images of people. So first, let's go ahead and try to generate an image of Tiger Woods. There's probably lots of images that have been trained on him. So I'm just going to say Tiger Woods swinging a golf club. This should be a pretty easy one. And one of the things I like about Flux is that it's just so fast. Look at how quick it actually came out with that. And that does look like Tiger Woods, actually. It even got the Nike sign right. Another good thing that Flux can do is it can actually write extremely effectively. So if I wanted to, I could even create Tiger Woods holding a sign that says, I love golf. Let's go ahead and generate that. And as you can see, that just did an immaculate job of actually showing Tiger Woods holding a sign that says, I love golf. And it actually, funny enough, put the heart in there instead of the word love, which I actually think is just amazing. We could try it again and just keep trying to see if it actually generates it without the heart, with actually saying love instead. But I think that's amazing that it figured out that it needed to put a heart in there instead. Yeah, it's I heart every time. What if I put love in all caps and I say written in Sharpie? It's so cheeky. Like, it just wants to put that heart in there when it has the I love sign. Let's try a futuristic WeWork space that says AI Foundations in neon letters in the background. Wow, that actually did a really good job of that one. I really like how that one came out, and it was neon letters, WeWork space, futuristic. I'm really impressed. Speaking of AI Foundations, my brother and I started a community called AI Foundations, and it's the best place to network and talk about AI, and also just to connect with super high level people. I can't emphasize enough how many amazing people I've met through this group. And I was honestly a bit surprised when we first started the group. I thought it would be more about me making courses and teaching AI, but I've learned more than some of the group members in there just because there are so many incredible people. So if you guys want to converse with us, if you want to join our live calls, if you want to get in touch with us and be plugged into the future of AI and other technologies and how they're going to influence your business and your job, then I highly recommend joining AI Foundations. I'm going to have a link below, and the price is going up pretty soon. We just hit 300 members, and Drake and I have been talking about raising the price. But if you get in soon, you should be able to lock in the $49 per month. So I really look forward to meeting you on live calls, talking with you about AI, and really just helping each other excel and helping each other network and meet new people. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know what your favorite tool that I talked about today was. I want to know. Leave it in the comments.